Good Erev Shabbos, everyone. This week's portion is out of Va'eira. In this Parsha, Hashem instructs Moshe Rabbeinu to appear unto Paro and to bring about the first 7 of the 10 plagues. And Hashem begins by saying that Ani Hashem. He tells Moshe, I am Hashem, using the name, the special name that we're not allowed to pronounce. And then the pasuk says, "Va'eira Avram al Yitzchak Yaakov." I appeared unto the patriarchs with the name Kel Shakai, but the name of Hashem I did not make known unto the world at that time. The patriarchs were well aware of the name of Hashem, but the name was not made known unto humanity. What exactly does this mean? What does the name Hashem suggest? What is Kel Shakai? And why didn't Hashem make this name known unto humanity? What was the reason for that? There's also a medrash in which it states that when Mashiach is revealed during the Messianic era, the miracles that shall take place at that point in time will cause all of the plagues and the miracles that occurred in Egypt to pale in comparison. That's how remarkable and mind-boggling the miracles of the Messianic era will be. And the question is, why is that necessary? Is there a competition over here? Do the miracles have to surpass that of Egypt? And what if we have a Mashiach and we're going to have miracles that exactly the same 10 plagues? Would that be a problem? What is the meaning of this medrash? In last week's Parsha, Hashem says to Moshe by the burning bush, I have seen the suffering of my nation in Egypt, and I shall descend to rescue them from the hand of Egypt, and I shall bring them up from that land to a land which is spacious and good, a land that is flowing with milk and honey, the land that Hashem promised to our patriarchs. In this verse, Hashem says 2 separate things. I shall go to Egypt and rescue them, and then I shall bring them to the land of Israel. I shall take them out of Egypt. From here, we see that there was, indeed, it wasn't immediate. As our sages tell us, it was almost a year. The plagues had 2-3 weeks of warning. The plague lasted, most of them, for a full week. And then after that full week, people recuperated. And then again, there were new warnings. It lasted almost an entire year. And after that year, then I will bring them out of the land of Egypt, and I will take them to the land of Israel. The Or Chaim asks a question, and he says, why was it necessary for all of this time to elapse? Why couldn't Hashem bring us out of Egypt immediately, within a few days? So the Or Chaim answers and says, because Hashem wanted to bring the plagues upon the Egyptians. But then he says, so why couldn't Hashem bring the plagues one right after the other? One day would be the blood. Next day would be the frogs. The third day would be the kinim, the lice. Then the wild animals. Then the pestilence. Then the boils. Hashem could have done this every day, one right after another. 10 days, we're done. Within 2 weeks, Klal Yisrael has seen all of the miracles. God's great name, His glory shall be known throughout the entire universe, the whole world. He reveals His presence. And we see the might, we see the greatness of God. Klal Yisrael could have gone out immediately. Or Chaim says it wasn't the right time. What does it mean it wasn't the right time? What time do we have to wait for? And if Hashem wants to do something not in the right time, who's going to object? How do we understand this? The Or Chaim, then he has a path in which he has an explanation. But this is the question. Why did Hashem have to drag out all the plagues for such a long period of time? The Ramban tells us that the name Hashem, the Yud, the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey, which we're not allowed to pronounce, this refers to God, who is totally demonstrating that he is in total charge of all that exists, meaning he will not only manipulate, he will change the course of nature. The laws of science will be defied. 1 and 1 will not equal 2. Fire and water can coincide and live in perfect harmony. Things that are scientifically impossible, defying the basic laws of nature. This is the name Hashem. God is going to demonstrate this. This is what Hashem says to Moshe. That God speaks to Moshe, and what does he say? Ani Hashem. You will see, you, Israel, the Egyptians, the whole world are going to see that I am the creator and the master. And there is no one, no thing, no force that exists that can stand in the way of my will. And should I will that all the laws of nature should be turned upside down and inside out, so it shall be. That's the name Hashem. This name was not yet made known unto the world during the time of the patriarchs. The patriarchs understood this, but the rest of the world did not. Hashem appeared to the patriarchs and made his presence known as Kel Shaka. What does that mean? It means that I am God who created laws of nature. I said to the world, die. The waters shall flow with currents until this point. The air shall blow, the ground shall exist, the fire shall, everything that we see in nature, I have created and I am in control of this. But the world will function within the parameters of these laws. Oh, maybe for individuals I'll perform a miracle, but to demonstrate for all mankind that the laws of nature are nothing more than my handwork, like a puppet, I control it, that was not made known during the time of the patriarchs, only now during the time of Moshe. Why is that? What would have been so terrible if Hashem would have revealed his greatness, his power, his might, his control, his mastery over the universe during the time of the patriarchs? The Chassam Sofer explains and says, why was it necessary to have all of these plagues and to have them stretched out over such a long period of time? Each of these plagues was demonstrating that Hashem has control over different elements. If we see the first few plagues, Hashem was demonstrating his control over the water, over the land. The next 3 plagues Hashem demonstrated over life, that which lives. He controlled the animals and brought a stampede. He brought pestilence and took the lives of the cattle that were out in the field. He brought boils upon the animals and upon man. He controlled life. And the last plagues, Hashem demonstrated that the air, the luminaries, the sun, the moon, the wind, everything in space is also under his control. Hashem was demonstrating, as the verses tell us, Ani Hashem, I am God, I am the creator, and I am the Bekerev Haaretz. I can be found amongst mankind. Don't think I created the world, programmed it, and now I'm busy doing something else. I am personally involved in every aspect that takes place. Oh, sometimes my involvement will mean that I will conceal myself. And I will certainly let people think that they might be the masters of their destiny, but I am in control. And I am aware, the hashgacha pratis, I am in control of every detail. And ein kameini. Don't think that, okay, there's an all-powerful God, but there's some other forces that might be in competition. There is nothing else. This was the message to Paro. But this message, the Chassam Sofer says, was not just exclusively to the Egyptians. It was intended for Klal Yisrael too. Hashem did not bring the plagues one right after the other because we needed time. Yes, that would have demonstrated the great might, power, control, mastery of God. But Klal Yisrael was afflicted with the disease of assimilation. Assimilation not only meaning that we adapted to the Egyptian culture and maybe the thoughts of idolatry infiltrated within our very minds, but it means that we became corrupt in our thinking and our behavior. We lost our identity. We couldn't think properly. We were so immersed in the impure that the holy and the pure was something we couldn't perceive. And we needed time. We needed time to reflect and to think. We needed to do homework. We needed to see a plague and we needed to think about it. Look what is happening. The plague lasts 7 days, and then afterwards there would be another week and we'd be all talking about it and what it meant and what it demonstrated and why. Why was the plague found in the Nile? Why did the fish have to die? Why did it have to turn to blood? All the commentaries that explain each and the purpose of every plague. Klal Yisrael would be involved for 3 weeks to a month discussing this. It took almost a year to uproot, nullify the impurities that have taken seed, deep root within our hearts, our souls, and our minds. We had to do 2 things. We had to uproot the corruption, and then we had to also plant the seeds of the purity and the sanctity of what it means to connect and to live with awe of God, awe and love and recognition of our benevolent Creator. And this, the Chassam Sofer says, could not be achieved within a few days, a week, or 2, or 1 month. It wasn't necessary for the punishment the Egyptians. That could have happened in a day. It wasn't just to demonstrate the might and the glory of God. That could have happened in a day. It was necessary for our process of growth to learn, to relearn, to recognize the fallacy and the futility of that which we thought was appropriate and proper, and to relearn the meaning of what it means to be a human being created in the image of God. That's why it took so long. That was part of the purpose of all of these incredible miracles that happened. We think we know the miracles. Yeah, we know the 10 plagues. There were so many miracles involved, as we say in the Haggadah. Each plague contained 10, 20, 30, 40 miracles unto themselves, 50. And then what about the splitting of the sea? There were more than hundreds, things that defy human sense. Why was this not made known during the time of the patriarchs? Because the patriarchs did not need this. Their thought process was so clear, so pure. There was nothing that needed to be uprooted. They did not have to relearn. They didn't have to see miracles to know of the one true God, creator and master of all that exists. All they needed was to know there was God who created this world and created the facade of what we call nature. Things that we assume function by themselves based on the laws of nature and science. They saw right through that. They knew that it is nothing more than the handwork of God. Science will say, oh, when the waters divided in Egypt, it was a geological phenomenon, and we can explain it, and we can show you, and we could this, and we could that. It might be true. But the fact that it happened at the very moment that Klal Yisrael needed to go through the dry land, have the waters divide, and then drown the Egyptians, the fact that it happened then clearly demonstrates that there's no science, there's no nature. It is only the will of Hashem who controls it and presents it. This was so crystal clear to the patriarchs that these open, incredible miracles were not necessary. But now Hashem says to Moshe, Ani Hashem, this generation of Klal Yisrael, suffering the afflictions of living in Egypt and being contaminated by Egyptian thought, where they don't even know what is ethical, what is moral, they will have the experience of this seminar in which they will be able to clearly reevaluate and reorganize their thought process and purify their souls. This is the meaning of the names of God and why Hashem delayed all the miracles and had them occur within a year. And this is also the meaning in the Medrash when it says that when Mashiach comes, we will witness miracles that will cause the plagues and the splitting of the sea to pale in comparison. Why? Why is it necessary? Special effects? We're going to sit and watch the show? The answer is because we are also so contaminated in our thoughts. We don't know what is moral, what is decent. We have Jews who will stand hand in hand with those who wish to boycott or divest from Israel and criticize. We will have those voting. We will have politicians, and we will have people, our own senators or whoever they might be, even if they're Jewish, voting in favor and endorsing United Nations decisions that single out Israel. Israel, which should be applauded, honored, crowned. And yet we see the anti-Semitism that exists. Jews who deride the glorious Torah that God has given us, the crown of honor, and they laugh and scoff. We are so contaminated, so corrupt, that not only will we have to witness miracles, we will need greater miracles that happened in Egypt to help us awaken. We talk about the woke generation. There will truly be an awakened generation in which we say, how foolish I've been. I've had the Torah all along, and I just left it somewhere on a shelf. I left it in an ark at the synagogue. I should have embraced this. I should have spent hours every day studying, seizing, grasping. Herein lies the secret, the prescription for all eternity. This is what shall happen in the Messianic era, but it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time to uproot, to cleanse, to purify, to remove the contamination, to remove the virus that controls our thoughts, and thereby enabling us to truly have a proper comprehension of the pure and the holy. Certainly, we are living in that time. The Jews in Egypt fell to the 49th level of impurity, and if we are not there yet, we are very, very close. We live in a time in which to speak morally, to claim one's faith, is almost asking to be fired, to be ridiculed, to be called who knows what, a racist, a misogynist, the homophobe, whatever it might be, because a person has beliefs of decent values, basic decent values. We live in a time in which our thoughts, our minds are corrupted. May Hashem have mercy and bring Mashiach with all the miracles to help us see clearly and embrace the magnificent Torah and mitzvahs that Hashem has so lovingly bestowed upon us. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay Jewish. Have a good Shabbat.